Hello everyone, I'm DonTheCrown, and today I want to talk about the character that I've been playing in Borderlands 4. Got through the campaign pretty smoothly and am now in the end game of Borderlands, working towards level 50, and it's just a super fun build. And I wanted to make a video to kind of help you out because I think this is something you can play pretty early on, and it really just like dominates and demolishes and crushes everything. It's just a lot of fun. I'm calling this the Grenade God, just because you rain down hell on your enemies with grenades, and it just does so much damage. It's silly. Pretty much we're using grenades to kill everything, especially grenades that home in on enemies like the Order ones here, or the Ripper one that you can get from the pre-order, I believe it is. The grenades teleport to their destination. That is pretty good. And we're also combining that with Peacebreaker cannons. These are little cannons that pop up, and they pretty much you can keep these up for a very long time. They shoot enemies a whole ton, even when you're in fight for your life. So if you get knocked down, these can help get you up. And we're going to be getting some damage reduction from this, Resiliencia. But really, once we get down to this bottom left area is really where it starts to pop off, where asymmetric warfare buffs both our cannons and our grenades. Same thing with Errant Spark. We get some life leech. Double Aught makes it so those cannons start, basically ricocheting all over the place. It's pretty fun. And we get even more ricochet here for both our cannons and for our grenades. So let's just show you a little bit of gameplay right off the bat. So first, I'm going to show you a little bit with the shotgun. This pretty much has the Torg gyrojet thing, where you basically can just load up a boss with a whole bunch of shots, and all of the gyrojets will explode once you start to reload. So each one that's in the boss will do 6% more damage, and just kind of show you what that looks like. We're here at Splash Zone. This is like one of the first bosses in the game. Just didn't want to spoil anything, so you can just reset and make him come out again. So I'm just going to run over here, and we're just going to activate our cannons, and we just going to sticky him. And you see we do quite a bit of damage here. And there we go. But, we're a Grenade God, so let's show you what the Grenade God action actually looks like. I'm going to switch over here to my SMG. I'll dismiss my cannons. And the only reason we're going to switch to the SMG is just to kind of show you the fire damage from them. So grenades go out. And yeah, they just kind of kill everything. I know they can kill you, so you do need to be careful about that. Oh, I haven't gotten this yet, so that's kind of cool. But the grenades are actually pretty wild, because they can also just go at hunt and seek and find enemies. I actually threw at all the enemies out there. But if you pretty much see an enemy on the mini-map, you can just throw a grenade in their general direction, and the grenades are going to go out there and just absolutely chase them, which is just pretty fun. And pretty much it's just very easy gameplay for that. The real dangerous part is when you throw out your grenades, they explode, and they are, you can take damage from these. So things like these little, rockets popping out, those things can hit you. And so you need to be very careful not to get murdered by your own grenades. However, if you have grenades out, very frequently I've been getting knocked down by, getting hit by an enemy, getting hit by my own grenade, and then my grenade immediately kills something and I stand right back up, which is pretty cool. Now, talking really quick about the skill setup here. Early game, and I pretty much have this also on Mobalytics. I did a huge write-up for this, so go check that out. I have a early leveling explanation, and then kind of the end game to kind of or 28 to end game. I'll probably do a 50 plus kind of build setup as well, with a whole bunch of information in here. They don't really have a lot of details in some of the sections yet, but I have things like my weapon recommendations and things. But pretty much as we're going down here, we're going to pick up the Rafa's Peacemaker cannon speed and his own fire rate. This just helps us do more damage early on. And the more our cannons can hit, they don't cost any ammo. So that's really good. Waria makes it so that when we critically hit, you think even with our cannons, we get more duration for our cannons. Instincto makes it so that when we kill enemies, we get more cannons. We also press F again to make the cannons drain quicker, but do more damage. I don't really do that all that much. It just gives us a little bit of, I think it gives us 20% crit baseline and then an additional 20% critical strike chance and damage. If you click it again, you can stack it up a whole bunch, but it does make it drain quicker. And I generally don't do that anymore. Resiliencia pretty much gives us a ton of damage reduction, which is just really, really nice. It makes you feel a little bit tankier. And we'll talk about like shield options here in a little bit. But really, once we get down to the bottom left here with all of the stuff that helps with our indirect projectiles, which counts grenade projectiles, you're pretty much just be popping off. And you'll be looking for a good grenade that does some sort of projectiles when you get down to this area. And it will just do a lot of damage. You can do like the throwing knives and stuff as well. I believe I haven't really messed around with one of those. But it's really just important to kind of go down here and get all this stuff here. And then you can look into getting like going back up and getting confetti, I think is very powerful here. This just gives us bonus damage if our current weapon that we have in our hands has elemental damage. We actually have this on our class mod as well, which is pretty crazy. We have Vengaza here, which gives us whenever our shields break, we shoot out another grenade. More grenades, more good. And then this gives us damage based on how souped up our shield is. So at full shield, we actually double the 30% up to 60% more damage, which is just very powerful. And then I'm going down here through the blue tree to get a little bit more fire rate, which is this is just the best option of the three, and then go get more grenade goodness here. Now, the reason I started playing this build is because I found two things basically at the same time. The first thing I found was a really good grenade. I believe it was this one, maybe? The Atomic Anti-Infantry Fuse. Pretty much what this does is has this ricochet augment, which pretty much allows me to, you know, just ricochet and kill a whole ton of enemies. And it has this reduced grenade cooldown. So I started like messing around with that. And what it does is just leaves a grenade on the ground that will then explode and just shoot a whole ton of bullets. And these are just really freaking ridiculous. And against bosses, it was just tearing it up. And you might notice that when I throw out a grenade, I actually throw out two grenades. And that's because the other thing that I found, which is the Feisty Grenazerker class mod. This makes it so that when you throw a grenade or TDR gun, you throw an additional one. So we actually throw two grenades as opposed to just one. Now this isn't mandatory by any stretch of the imagination. You see how much we just absolutely roll bosses already. Even with like just using grenades or not using grenades at all. You can imagine that like shooting with your gun and using your grenade at the same time would be greater than either one of those. But this definitely makes your grenades go super duper wild, and highly recommend keeping an eye out for this. Very unlikely you'll find this while leveling. Hoping to find a up leveled one of these once I get to 50, which would be pretty nice. This is pretty good there. Now, the other grenades that you can kind of use with this, things like the booming transmitter. I think you can just get this from pre-ordering. I'm using a grenade that is this right now, which I just found off a boss. It has artillery payload, which does the like grenade pops up, spins in a circle and just shoots a ton of rounds. It has mortar augment, which shoots down these like rockets at things. Nuke gives you more damage, radius, and cooldown duration. It's kind of just crazy. And then the order mod there makes it so it homes in. And I added the firmware get throw in there, which gives me 10% ordnance damage. We're also using ordnance cooldown and more splash radius across different things, which is very powerful. Now, because we are using this right here, confetti, which is also my class mod, this makes it so that our ordinances, our grenades, do bonus damage in our current weapons element. So it's pretty important to have a weapon that has elements on your setup somewhere, especially for like, I think fire and corrosion are pretty important. You run into a lot of enemies that are just flesh or they have armor. And then lots of times if I'm going against a boss that like there's one boss out there that has like all energy shield, I will have an energy shield based weapon as well. And it'll just kind of like just tears through enemies' shields or life or whatever it is. And I think that matching elements is pretty darn important. The other kind of stuff like weapons that I would recommend, especially while leveling, is the Order sniper rifle here, Order sniper rifles, I think, are definitely my favorite by a far margin, simply because most sniper rifles, you're kind of like shooting one shot at a time, whereas the order sniper rifle, you can charge up a whole ton of shots, and if you hit an enemy in the head or a critical shot with that, early game they're gonna die. It's just, you're just doing so much damage. Like elites just absolutely just dying, badasses just absolutely die. It's pretty funny. I obviously recommend the Torg sticky shotgun here as well. If you don't have the sticky, it's still a pretty good shotgun for close range, which feels pretty good. Early on, especially, I think that like right now I'm just using a shield that has a big amount of shield. It also has a little bit of chance to give me overshield, which is nice. But early on, I think that the energy shield is kind of bad relative to switching over to something that's like an armor shield. So armor shields, the way that these work is a little bit different. You can see in the bottom left, there's like this little orange bar that's slowly going over. Every time that goes all the way over, the armor like plate, it's filled completely. And this doesn't care if you're getting hit, you're in combat or whatever. And so this constantly just gives you like a nice chunk of life, especially because early game, it kind of felt like you're just constantly having enemies pop up and just shooting at you, especially during a lot of the main quests. And you didn't really have a lot of time to actually like recover your shields. And so I found that the armor shield felt pretty darn good. I think this one's like a little bit slower than the one I used in terms of like actually filling up. But yeah, it is definitely a very strong thing to pick. But really, like, you can just like use a energy shield later on. One thing that really helps with my energy shield is having a rep kit that has power cycle. So anytime I use it, it immediately starts recharging. So like if I get knocked out of my energy shield, I will just like hide and just immediately rep kit and it'll just start recovering, which is pretty nice. I was also using one of these that has heart pump, so it has additional charges, and it basically has the additional like cooldown or additional cooldown rate for ordinances for 10 seconds. So you could like pop that and then just keep throwing grenades, which is pretty cool. There's another legendary that I found as well that was just giving me a ton of DR, which I'm probably going to go farm for that once I get to max level, because I think it's just very strong. But we'll talk about that later, I guess. Weapons that I'm using right now, just like a shotgun, Torg one, we're using the order one, and then really like I like using either like an assault rifle or a pistol, like anything that's kind of good for like longer range. Like really like the grenades clear up most of the stuff, but like the Star Helix thing here is pretty fun, and it's a nice little expanse reference, and it like kind of shoots these like weird projectiles. It's kind of hard to see it, but it's like it goes like this, and you can set it to be horizontal or vertical. That's a little bit easier to see. And just that's like the stuff that I'm using. For SDUs, I highly recommend like getting some backpack space, especially because early on I feel like I picked up a whole ton of stuff. But getting like SMG ammo is like really super duper clutch. Same thing with sniper and assault. Pretty much like just pump the weapons that you use the most to get those up. I don't think that it's really important to get like lost loot all that much leveled up. For the most part, you're just picking up all your things. Same thing with bank space. I don't think this is important at all early on. If you're putting too much stuff in your bank before level 50, like you just need to throw some of that stuff out. For skills, we kind of already talked about all that stuff there. I kind of go through the actual order. Once you get like through the campaign, you unlock specializations. And this is kind of just like the Paragon system for the game. So I put my first points down through brute, gives me a little bit of gun damage. I picked up lead or alive. This pretty much makes it so that when you get knocked down, your guns are automatically reloaded and you get fire rate. And then I went over and got survivor and got myself sturdy stuff. This pretty much makes it so that when we get up from fight for your life, it get our full heal from that. And, sometimes our grenades are just flying out there. Sometimes they hit me. Sometimes they knock me down. Sometimes, I die and I cry. But sometimes I get knocked down and my grenades just kill something immediately. And so, like, it has a weird animation where, like, it looks like I die, but then I stand right back up and I'm immediately able to go back to fighting, which is pretty fun. I'm going to be putting points into Gadgeteer and then going down and getting full Spectrum Arsenal and Fragmentation Payload. I think these are really good. I also think that Bullets Are Scared of Me is very nice, because pretty much the main thing that I'm scared of is like a big like bull, boar, whatever the cow thing is, charging me and just like one tapping me basically. And this helps give me like some DR when I'm at full health, which is pretty nice. But probably just end up going like full damage eventually. Or maybe going more defenses. I don't know. Like I feel like we actually just tear stuff up. Most bosses are pretty easy. Yeah, that's pretty much the entirety of the build for now. We're gonna be like doing some min-maxing at max level. Oh yeah, we can talk about this thing. So I'm not really sure what to put in our enhancement pack here yet. There's a whole bunch of different things. I pretty much just picked one that has a good mod, but I have like another one here I just picked up, like literally in a previous shot of this video, that has get throwing. So I might actually wear this instead, because that just gives us more splash radius. But you know, both of these pretty much are giving me a similar thing here. So yeah, we'll just kind of figure stuff out. I think like pretty much whatever you're using for your SMG, you probably want to match that with your enhancement so that you're having like a powerful effect. Oh, one thing I really want to talk about, I probably want to do a specific video about this, is you need to be careful when you're marking stuff in your inventory here. If you have a lot of stuff in your inventory, it's very easy to accidentally mark the wrong things for scrap. So if you like press X on an item, like it'll mark it for scrap. But if I mark down here, it will sometimes, instead of marking the one that you clicked on, it'll mark the one above it. And this can like knock things out of favorite, knock things out of for the bank. And so just really keep an eye out for that. What I'll typically do is I'll go sort by recent and then flip that. And this will like show me like, I'll do this like here, just recent, and it'll show me like the stuff that I just picked up. That way you can just scrap the stuff that you just got. And like typically the stuff at the bottom you've been keeping for whatever reason. Hopefully this video helped you out. A little bit of ramble. I had to recut this entire thing. I'm having a great time with Borderlands 4. The performance was maybe a little bit questionable at first, but we did fix some stuff. I've been consistently getting like 60 FPS on medium. While streaming, I can do 60 FPS on badass. I don't really care about going above 60 FPS for myself personally. I'm too old to care about that kind of stuff, I guess. But hopefully this video helped you out. Let me know what you think. Come by the Discord if you have questions. Come by the stream. Come hang out. And we'll see you soon. Later.